Why most agency owners struggle to scale. Most agencies try to do it all to save money and control quality, but this quickly leads to burnout, missed opportunities, or just slow growth. All right, so today's call, key roles to hire first when growing your agency, right? Building a scalable team for sustainable growth. So what we're covering in the session is the wrong roles equals slow growth, right? You want to make sure you have the right roles, right people in the right seats. And second point is first hire impact on profitability and efficiency. Another piece we'll cover is delegating low value work, and then finally budgeting hires. Okay. So problem, why most agency owners struggle to scale, right? I guess with a show of hands, any of these resonate to you? Burnout or well, most agencies try to do it all to save money and control quality, but this quickly leads to burnout, missed opportunities, or just slow growth, right? You feel like you're like just holding yourself back. And Sarah mentioned, yeah, burnout, missed opportunities for sure. I've experienced that myself. It sucks. Like there was one point in my agency, in the past, I just didn't even want to get out of bed. Like, oh man, this sucks. And anyone ever experienced that dreaded call from like that one particular client, and you get it on your phone and you see their name, like, oh, do I really want to answer that call? I don't want to answer this call anymore. I've had that too. But I realized all because I just didn't have a team. I didn't have the right systems in place, didn't have the right team, and I try to grow too fast alone. Here's some stats. This is from Agency Analytics. They surveyed 121 agencies, and so proportion of work outsourced by marketing agencies. So less than 10% are of the 121, less than 10%, 41% of those agencies outsource less than 10%. You know, 27%, 11 to 30, 19% is none, 8%, 31 to 50%, and more than 50%, 5%. So as you can see in this stat right here, most of the agencies, they don't outsource to other like freelancers or contractors. They're trying to bring it in-house. Okay? And in the beginning, you do what you need to do, right? You hire on Upwork, you hire, other agencies to scale up quickly. But as is like economy of scale, and as you start scaling, and this is your part of your core, and let's say you want to control quality, control like the deliverability, the speed of it, then you want to start thinking about bringing it in-house. Okay. But then there's other things that just it completely doesn't make sense to bring in-house. Let's say if you're a video agency and you need shooters, right? And let's say you're in California, but you need someone in the East Coast, right? It's a lot more expensive to fly someone from in California to the East Coast than just hire someone, a contractor, let's say, on the East Coast already. They're in that locale. They don't have to travel. You have to pay additional travel expenses. They're already there. You provide them, these are the things that I need from you to shoot. These are the shot lists. And it's a lot more effective that way. So it depends, right? It depends on what your needs are. And the other stat here, distribution of agency staff working remotely at least some of the time. So of the survey, 70% is all their staff is working remotely. Right? So that's very common. It's not a surprise, even though on the news you hear like all these big tech companies and other companies are like, oh, come back to work, right? But for us as agency owners, as small agencies, it's still all remote. That's when we get the most value and the most flexibility in the work that we do. Okay. Let's see. Any questions so far? Are we good? Good. Okay. So growth trap, right? Expectation. If I just work harder, like a double shift, right, Joe? I can scale my agency. Um, But reality is, you're stuck working in the business and not on it. So for the five key roles to hire first. So most agency owners that I've talked to, I've met, they're hiring reactively, right? They're adding members only when after that they're overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I have all this edit content to edit. That's usually it's because of the technical pieces. Like I have all these posts I need to make, all these websites I need to build, all this videos I need to edit, right? And they're like, oh crap, now I need to find someone. Well, the problem is now you're already under pressure, you're stressed out, and I feel bad for the person that you're bringing on now, right? They're like, whoa, what's with this person? They're not prepared. There's no training, nothing, and they're just throwing me in the deep end, right? And it's not even the pool; it's like the deep sea, right? Of like, good luck. I need you to do these edits and do it like I do, right? That's a setup for failure right there. So phases, I look at it and I broke it up into these five phases. Everyone should start as bring the first hire should really be an executive assistant, and I'll go into details on why on that, and we'll go back to this slide. So phase one, executive assistant. Phase two, technical roles. Phase three, customer success manager. Phase four, marketing role. Phase five, more technical roles. Okay. Now, is this like you have if you are not following these phases, your agency cannot grow? No, absolutely not. Right. These are the phases that I found and I've seen other agencies to be the most successful. Okay. Because if you go in different orders, um, it slows down on certain aspects of your growth. Okay, and we'll go into that in a minute. So phase one, EA. What does the EA do benefit wise? EA hiring frees up the owner's time. You, as the owner, is the most expensive and most valuable person in your organization. Okay. So if you can free up 10, 20 hours a week, that's gold. All right, super valuable. And another big piece is the mindset shift, right? Sarah, you mentioned it already, right? When you were traveling to the East Coast and you're like, oh, this is so nice. I can actually focus on what I'm doing. You can focus on, providing your offer, selling, right? And not think about all the administrative stuff, reducing burnout. If you stop working, right, especially right now, your agency, let's say it's an infancy stage, baby stages, right? You quit, it's game over for the agency, right? Cost savings, right? And then decision clarity, right? Reducing decision fatigue. So what does an EA do? That's another really common question. Right? Administrative support, marketing and sales, finance and accounting, HR, and IT and technology. So in these cases, like they're handling the office tasks, promoting products, or help you promote products and services. They're helping you with the records, like they could help you with invoicing. They could help you with some of the data collection and then handling or managing like employees. Like let's say they might have a question on certain benefit information, or hey, can we get a copy of your employee handbook? Right? You don't need to dig through that. Your EA should be sending them that link. Here's a link to our employee handbook. And then any small bit of technical support and infrastructure. So administrative support to go in detail, inbox calendar management, client follow-ups, meeting preparation, documentation, travel planning, and expenses. I remember when I went on a trip and there were times where like I'm stuck in an airport. I'm like, oh man, I need help, right? I talked to my EA. My EA is like, okay, here's what you can do. We're like, hey, what should I'm here now. What are some of the places around me that is really good for lunch that I could coordinate with the person that I'm meeting with. So my EA, she's in front of her computer screen. She has all the information in front of her, and she can help me facilitate that while I'm moving. Let's say I'm moving my luggage into my hotel room, right? Marketing and sales, right? prepping sales presentations and proposals, like a slide deck like this, right? This is not a sales slide, but we have a sales deck. My EA helps put that all together. Coordinating marketing campaigns, events, PR efforts. Like my EA, actually, she's in the call right now, Charlene. She's helping us do TikTok lives. She's actually running TikTok lives for us right now. So go, Charlene. So, and also handling and managing our social media calendars and content scheduling. Finance aspects, process expense reports, reimbursements. Like in the beginning, you may not have, it's just you're probably used to like, oh, I'll just swipe the company card, right? But as you bring on more people, let's say even vendors, let's say you contract out a shooter at a location and there were some additional expenses. Maybe they had to purchase like a special cable or special pieces for this event, and they're sending you their expense report, right? Um, Either you do it or you can have your EA do it, right? Start processing all that paperwork, invoicing, vendor payments, assisting with budgeting and financial reporting, tracking and reconciling credit card and travel expenses. Okay. And you don't have to, and I don't give like my EA access to my bank account, but what my EA can do or my other team members can do, like we have a full-time accountant now. She basically puts together the full report. Like, this is the exact amount I want you to transfer or pay this vendor or pay this person. And all I have to do is just do that. I review it. So basically, I do a quick glance at it. Everything looks good. And I just send it. Okay. Um, HR, right? Recruitment coordination, helping with the onboarding or offboarding, maintaining HR documents, employee records, and compliance and policy updates, coordinating IT requests, maybe managing software licenses like Adobe Premiere or whatever license subscriptions that you have, helping with virtual meetings, and troubleshooting tech issues, or maybe running. So let's say you're doing a live or you're doing an event. You have your EA kind of maybe help answer questions and assist you while you're doing your presentation. So that's an EA. Any questions? And this is just like a really high overview of what of when EA can do. Any questions here on EA? Good. All right. So moving on. Technical roles. So this this is the role that everyone wants to start off first. Okay. I need a video editor. I need a designer. I need a social media manager. I need someone to do the work, right? Do the deliverables for the client. And I get it, right? And that is your core. And in the beginning, you may have contractors, freelancers, or you sub it out to another agency, right? Um, Eventually, if it's your core, you want to bring it in the house. But going back to this slide right here, if you hire technical hires first, okay, let's just say even the cost, right? I'll just put this in simple dollar signs, right? Your technical hires is like $2 signs, and your EA is $1 sign, right? In the cost perspective, um, and also the work perspective. It's the work that you want to be doing longer is the ones that are worth more dollar signs. Make sense? So the ones that are high value work, the highest value for you as an agency owner is probably consulting, right? The strategist, right? Like the general, right, of the army, right? Um, but not printing out papers, scheduling meetings, right? So, but at the same time, those are absolutely necessary. Same thing with creating SOPs. So here's the catch 22. You don't have an EA. Let's say you start hiring a video editor or a social media marketer. But because you didn't have an EA, and let's say you didn't have SOPs and onboarding documentation ready, now your training isn't as good and you're not able to develop that social media manager, that video editor as well. And then you end up needing an EA anyways. Okay. Or what I've seen is that agency owners never ever hire an EA and they constantly hire tech roles over and over and over again. And they're complaining like, oh, it just doesn't work. Everyone I hire sucks. They just don't know what to do. They just don't think like me. They don't work like me. I'm like, and then I asked, do you have SOPs? No, I mean, kind of. I mean, they're like on up here in my head. Okay, okay. When was the last time you had a one-on-one? I don't have time for one-on-ones. When was the last time you talked to your social media manager? Uh, 3 weeks ago. I've been flying. Okay. I've been going to these shoots. I've been doing these other things. Things come up. I've been putting out fires. All right. Okay, I get it. I get it. Right. So you're doing all these things that you could have delegated to your EA and invested your time in your technical talent, and then which ultimately they would have provided you all this time back and help you scale and build all these things. But instead, you chose to spend all your time hiring and firing and hiring and firing over and over again and blow all this money away and think that people are bad at what they do, right? So sometimes, like agency owners hate to hear that, and but that's reality. Right? That's really what's happening, but people don't realize that. So then, so that's why I highly recommend getting EA first. Build your foundation, build your processes. Get the stuff in your head on paper, on digital paper, right? In your Notion, in your project management system, in your knowledge base, right? So others can see it and read it. Then afterwards, so going to technical hires, we all pretty much know technical roles, right? Why it's important, right? Efficient delivery, scalable growth, poor execution stalls growth, and offload execution early, right? You want to free up time for sales strategy and scaling faster. In the beginning of an agency, it's all about sales. Okay, it's gonna be sales for a long time. Okay, because if you don't have sales, I don't care how good your product and service is, right? It doesn't matter. You have no fuel, right? Plane's never going to take off if you have no fuel. It doesn't matter how good your plane is. So with that, you have to funnel all your energy. If you're looking to remember, you're shifting. You may have come from a freelancer, or you were a freelancer, you were a contractor, and now you have a business, right? Now you're looking to scale. So with that, you need fuel. Sales is fuel. So focus your energy, 80-20 rule. So 80% sales, and part of that marketing, right? Everything else delegate as quickly as possible, right? Without um, things falling apart. But we all know, more revenue opportunities, right? You have someone else working on the technical pieces, like the video editing and the social media posts. So you can do more sales, more freedom, time freedom, improve client satisfaction. Because another stat is that your customers is much more likely to buy from you than a brand new prospect, right? So your reoccurring customers, even a customer that may have bought from you, let's say a year ago, you have a high, as long as you have a good like relationship, right, with this individual, and when you go back to them and say, hey, I have a new offer now, I have a new program, a new product, new service, they're much more likely to buy from you, right, than a brand new customer. But if you don't have time and you're buried with work, with technical work, you're never gonna follow up with these satisfied customers in the past. And then a competitive advantage, right? You have to scale. You don't want to keep doing the technical work by yourself. So remove yourself from daily execution and time spent on strategy, scaling, and profitability instead of getting lost in client work. And then once your delivery team is in place, the next critical hire is the second technical hire. So here's another piece too. So depending on your type of agency, right? It doesn't matter, like social media management, digital marketing, videos, right? So these are all there's technical hires in all. The thing that you want to avoid is like, oh, I'm just gonna hire one person and then I'm gonna go off and hire a different, completely different role, like a CSM, um, or a different type of technical hire. All right. So, for example, if you're a video agency, you only hire one video editor, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll just hire a social media manager, and then that's it. Well, the problem with that is that as soon this is life, right? Reality. You're not hiring like robots. So what happens is that eventually, if not in the next 6 months to a year or 2 years or 3 years, there will be a time where this individual wants to go on vacation, get sick, weather, maybe, a forest fire, right? Whatever that is, right? Things happen. What are you going to do, right? They're your one and only full-time video editor. Guess what? All the video editing work goes back to you, right? All the technical work goes back to you. So all the initiatives, all the marketing and sales, things that you have planned for the next like 2, 3 months, all down the hole, down the drain, all on pause, right? All on pause right now. And you don't want that to happen. So that's why during this time, as soon as you figure out like, okay, this is the technical hire I want to bring on full time, you want to hire your second technical hire and clone that person. And the nice thing is it's easier now because you have the SOPs. You have someone that's well trained, and then that second person can train the third person. Does that make sense?
Sorry. So like when you hire your first EA, I might have missed something there. You hire your first EA, like you guys are gelling well, everything's going good, but then they need to go on a 2 week vacation. Do you already have like the backup in mind, or like how are you hiring from that point of view? Your second person.
Yeah. So the EA doesn't like I don't worry too much about an EA having a backup for an EA unless your EA is doing a lot of mission critical pieces. Okay. It's usually what I'm talking about here is your technical hires, like
Yeah,
your
sorry,
core offerings.
that's what that's what I meant, like a video editor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So say it again, like so your video editor goes on vacation. So are you asking me always have a backup?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you want to run your business like the casino, right? Like you don't want
Correct.
that, right? You want to increase the odds to your favor. So in the beginning, if you don't have the budget to hire two video editors, but you can afford one, even let's say you don't have one, right? Like some agencies, it's very common, like Sarah mentioned, you have an agency out was in Dubai that handles your video editing work. Okay, that's great. Now, eventually, Sarah might want to bring the editor full time in-house, so she has her first full-time editor. Now, the nice thing is Sarah has the agency, like the video agency in Dubai as a backup. So that's
Right.
why I always encourage partner up, work with other agencies. Always have a plan B, a plan C, right? Backup plan. And
Yeah.
then as soon as your budget, your revenue, your income permits, right? Don't just go buy a Lambo, right? Don't blow your money away, right? Take that money and invest and start bringing on your second technical hire. So that way, that one video editor isn't doing everything himself or herself. You have a backup. And then as you start scaling, right, you're still focused on marketing and sales, right? You're fueling your engine, you're fueling your plane. So you keep doing that, and then you start looking at other technical roles that may be a good fit. Are you following so far?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank
Okay. So now imagine so who to hire based on niche, like content creator or video editor for branding and social and video agencies, paid ad specialist for performance and marketing agencies as an example. So now going to phase three, CSM. So understand like this is kind of like where you're at in your agency now. So you have an EA helping you with your day to day. You've been focusing on marketing and sales. Now, you have a few technical hires that's focusing on your core offerings. You have let's say you're a video agency and you're handling, you have a social media manager, and at least two video editors, okay, helping you. So now you have like enough client work that it is eating away at a big chunk of your marketing and sales time, because now you're still doing a lot of the project management, the client follow-ups. You're still doing a bit of that. There's like, let's say doing the client calls on a weekly call, let's say. Then at that point, that is when you need a CSM. So so the CSM will help with the client retention and ensure that the clients are happy. They'll renew your service. Let's say, you have a 3-month contract, focus on 3 months, or renewal, even before the 3 month is up, and then ask them to refer and expand their contacts. And then it reduces churn, basically people leaving, and increases lifetime value of your customers. So those are the benefits of why you would want a CSM. So these are some of the things a CSM would do for you, because right now you're doing it yourself with help, right, from your EA, but you're still doing a majority of it. Client onboarding, right? You're sitting in the a client onboarding call, right? With a CSM, you won't do the onboarding anymore. The CSM would do that. um, and ongoing communication. Like for us, for our web agency, whenever there's a web project, our CSMs are talking to our clients on a weekly basis, right? Providing an update. Like on Fridays, there's always an update of the status of the project, where we're at, what we need from our clients, and what the next steps are. Okay. Uh, project management, right? Managing our project management system, and an upsell and renewal opportunities. So our CSMs, when they're in the weekly calls, or after, let's say, the project is complete and they're in maintenance mode, our CSMs would send an email once a month for a 15-minute follow-up. And any of our customers that are interested in those follow-ups, we're listening, we're answering all the questions and their needs. And then we're providing recommendations. And those recommendations typically convert to upsells or renewal opportunities. Okay. So our CSMs is also bringing in, helping the bottom line, the numbers, the sales numbers. Um, More retention equals more profits, right? Studies show a 5% increase in client retention can increase profits by 25 to 95%, right? And reduces workload for agency owners who previously handled client relations, right? And this CSM is another super popular role, like the role that it's like a dream role for a lot of agency owners. Like, oh man, I wish I could take all these things off my plate, right? But don't put the cart before the horse, right? Because you don't want to hire a CSM right away if you don't have your EA or your technical hires in place, right? It's like a setup for just disaster. And Sarah, I did see your message. So you're saying I'm thinking about having my EA start training with me for onboarding. Yeah, that's a great idea. A lot of my EAs start off as EAs, worked with me for about 6 to 12 months, and then graduated, and then moved into one of the other roles in the organization. So, and what's important, and the nice thing about that is that I ask my EAs, like, what do you want to do? Right? What do you want to do next? Right? You're welcome to be my EA. Yeah, I'd love to have you stay as my EA. But if there's other roles in this organization that you're helping me with, right? Because your EA is touching many different departments. If there's anything in particular that you really enjoy doing, right, then I can mentor and coach you and help you move towards that direction. That's a win-win, right? When you have someone that actually wants to do it, right? I try not to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do, right? Yes, there are times where like we're a small agency and we're like, hey, someone got to do this. We got to do it. Can you do this? Thank you, right? But we want to get to the point where it is driven by the individual of what they want to do, right? That's how you get really like individuals that are really passionate and really happy with the things, the work that they do. So, anyways, I digress. Phase 4, finally. Oh, Sales and marketing. We've been doing this like for 3 phases now, right? As an agency owner. Finally, we can get some help, right? Sales and marketing. And problem is many, this is common for us too. Word of mouth, right? Just referrals. No predictable pipeline or growth. Growth is inconsistent and revenue fluctuates, right? Month to month. So solution is hiring dedicated sales and marketing hires to ensure a steady growth, right, of qualified leads, sales calls, and closed deals. So the nice thing is, like there's two like train of thought here, right? Can you hire market appointment setters, marketing experts, and or salespeople in the beginning? Yes, you can. And you're basically adding all this fuel, but also at the same time, if your marketing and sales is extremely successful, and you don't have an operational team, like a team in the operations side, you can blow up that way, like implode, okay, that way. In That's why I recommend focusing on your operational pieces because pretty much every single agency owner I've talked to cares about their quality of work. I've never ever heard anyone say, I don't really care about the quality. I want to sell as much as I can and just like if I can get paid for doing this, I'll be good with that, right? I've never ever heard an agency owner say that. So most agency owners really care about the quality and to the extent of is stunting their growth. Okay, because they don't want to let go. So this is why I'm recommending in these phases to wait for the sales and marketing pieces until you have built up enough confidence in yourself and in your team to then say, all right, I have a rock solid operational team now. I can go 1,000% in now with marketing and sales. And now, what I mean by that is not just yourself. You're bringing on a lot. You're building essentially a media empire, a publishing team in your own organization, right? You're becoming a brand yourself. You're becoming the influencer of your own organization, of your own name, and and um, and now you're getting more opportunities that way, right? But everyone has different like strategies and recommendations. Okay, but this is what has worked well for me. Oh, hold on one second. I think my screen glitched out. Give me a second here. Yeah, let me stop my share and reshare. Any questions so far? Does this all make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not quite there yet in terms of hiring people, but definitely. Well, and you had mentioned something earlier. Don't or can't speak to it, but definitely have it in the pipeline ready to go so that when work does come in, you got people that you can uh, help out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, it's like key insight. If you don't have a consistent system for acquiring clients, you don't have a business. You have a high stress freelancing operation, right? Um, so some marketing roles like sales closer, marketing coordinator, account manager. So that's that. Now going to step five, phase five would be additional tax or automation specialist, right? AI is super popular and super sexy now, right? Now you want to put everything on steroids, right? Um, so being able to scale, like and that's part of like what we do a lot of internally now. It's being able to do the things which was really manual by you first, and then it was manual for your team. So now we look at things that could be automated, and now it's built into the AI, built into the automation, and it doesn't sleep. It can just run all day long, right? Making sure you have a good CRM system in place and start automating that. Marketing and sales automations. like automatic follow-ups. There's even AI systems now that will do your appointment setting for you. So I know one of the agency owners mentioned that in the AU channel. Lead nurturing, right? That's kind of part of the appointment setting. Client onboarding, that's actually one of the things that we're working on right now to fully automate that piece. As soon as just imagine this, right? Here's a use case. A client just signed up. They sign off a proposal. So as soon as they sign off on your proposal, it automatically triggers and sends out an email with a form link. And that form link is like a onboarding, form. And so then your customer is filling out all the information that you would normally ask them anyways for the onboarding call. So your client is filling all the information out into the form. And then what happens is in that form, you take all this information, it automatically sends it and prompts it through, let's say, ChatGPT, OpenAI, or other AI systems, and will build the final document that you would normally show to your client during the onboarding call. Let's say your strategy, your planning, your AI system can basically build your starting point, your rough draft for you. And then all of your Google folders, your files are already automated, already created. You don't have to go in and create a client folder, let's say, in your Google Drive anymore, or Dropbox or wherever you store your files. So that's part of like automation, and it never sleeps. It just works every single time, right? So that's when you get to these stages, like operational workflow, right? Manual work, minimizes human error, standardizes processes for smoother day-to-day operation. So you want to look at it this way, right? You may be like something as simple as creating folders in Google Drive, right? For the first 50 times, you may do it perfectly, but maybe that 51st time, right? Or what if it's at the 100th time? Right? And when I say perfect, I mean the folder is in the right location, the other subfolders are created properly, everything is all set up. So if you program it that way in your automation, as long as the input is correct, right? It's going to do that every single time. So that's something, that's why you want to have automation. Client reporting, analytics, right? Collecting all this client data. Especially if you're a digital marketing agency, a social media agency, right? You're collecting all this data. Where's it going, right? And can you put together a report to your end client? And yes, there are tools out there already that does that, but maybe certain tools have limitations. Like it only works on certain platforms, but not the other platforms. So that's another thing that you may want to start building in the future. Team productivity and collaboration. It's like task management. I know like whenever a certain task, like let's say for us internally for an interview, whenever a interview passes one of the stages, the information is sent over to us in Slack, notifying our team, and then it triggers another piece to let our team know to, let's say, depending on where they're at in the stage, it might let like our client know, or to let our team member know to endorse that candidate over to our client, our agency partner. So, so that's part of automation. It helps our team follow processes, follow our SOP in a lot smoother way. So when to make these moves? Here, I just put together a simple like guideline, right? It's not like you have to follow this, but just kind of give you a rough idea, right? I just put some numbers and values here. For higher order, first EA. If your MRR, your monthly recurring revenue, is between 5 to 8 thousand, you should easily be able to afford an EA, right? Especially if you're like bringing someone on in the Philippines. Not so much if you're hiring directly locally in the US, because typically an EA would be around, in all these roles, is around 15 to 1800 dollars a month. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Uh, so if your MRR is around 5 to 8, and also I don't know your situation, right? You might be living in a mansion or maybe living in New York City and the rent is insane there, right? I'm in Michigan, so it's not too bad. But So yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kevin. Yeah. Can't help you there in Canada.
It's tough. It's tough here.
Oh man, I know I have family in Toronto, so yeah, it's rough. Um, but you look at your own, like expenses, of course, right? Because this is part of your life. And but typically 5 to 8K EA. Once you hit the 8 to 12K mark, you should be able to start bringing on full on techs, right? As long as you're not buying Lambos or a big boat or something, right? And then once you get to the 12 to 16K mark, you start bringing on CSMs, and then 16 to 20K mark, you're able to bring on marketing and sales. Start bringing on marketing and sales people, right? When I you know throughout my journey growing an agency, and it's still focused on growing that agency, is that I as long as I have my basic necessities met, like I have roof over my head, food on the table, and sure, maybe a movie and some fun trips every so often. As long as those things are met to me, I poured everything back into the business. And the thing is, how I poured it back into the business is I wanted to get more of my time back and have the business be able to run on its own without me. So that was my biggest driver. Because the moment the business is running with me, like I'm forced to go back into the business. The business is not as valuable, okay? And it's more stressful too. And yes, there is stress growing the business, but it's more stressful trying to do everything yourself. That's my personal experience. If you can get over the struggle of building that team, then it's much, much easier once you have that team and it's able to consistently to help you scale. But it's getting over that first hill is the most difficult. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what happens if I mentioned this, right? What happens if you hire out of order, right? You hire a specialist first, you're still stuck doing admin and client management. And if you skip the CSM, then you're going to have delayed projects. And then if you delay on sales and marketing hires, then you lack the predictable revenue stream. How to afford these hires, right? You can hire, overseas, right? That's in the Philippines and or other, overseas talent. And it's not that they're not less experienced. Actually, a lot of people that we brought on have more experience than the ones that we find locally. So there's a huge benefit, and then just overall reduce overhead, no office, local taxes, and benefits too there, right? I mean, it's a little different now with tariffs, but thankfully the tariffs does not apply to like remote labor, not yet at least. We don't know in the future, but for now it's okay. Um, and then every hire should generate ROI, not just add expenses. Free up your time, increase efficiency, CRM and sales rep boost retention, and then specialists improve service and leading to referrals and upsells. Right. So there you have it. So my question to everyone here, like, what do you plan on doing next?
I want to lean into my EA more, and I've been wanting for a long time to get him his own custom domain email that matches my business, obviously. So I want to do that, and he loves customer service and like calendar management and stuff. So just letting him do that more would be really good.
What do you mean by having him have his own custom domain email? What does that mean?
That means like, well, my email is grow@therealsarah.com, so he can be like Clarence at therealsarah.com, or like,
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
just feel
yeah.
like that will help, and I
Oh,
want my
absolutely.
EA. I really want to lean into like more public speaking and like lots of publicity opportunities. So one of the things I want him to do is like reach out on my behalf with my press kit and everything.
Mhm.
And so I think him having his own custom domain is going to be really important for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's actually the first thing we do, first day. All of our
Yeah,
full-time hires that we set up their because everything is tied to their main email.
yeah,
So all the Slack or project management invites, everything, and let's say our Meta, Facebook Meta invites, all go to the company email.
yeah.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, how about you, Joe? What are your plans?
Sorry, it's loud in this coffee shop. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I'm just gonna get that executive assistant. I think that would be sweet. I'm definitely obsessed with like AI agents right now and figuring that out. So
yeah.
I kind of think I can build it all myself, but I don't think that's gonna. I think it's better just go tried and true
Remember,
first. Yeah,
yeah, don't put the car. So here's the thing. I'm huge, like I'm huge into
yeah,
AI, right? Like my
yeah,
background, I have a software engineering degree, okay? I'm huge into
yeah,
AI. So with that, from that perspective, you still need a human being to, even if you build the AI systems, you need a human being to ensure that the AI is actually functioning as intended, okay? Or else it will
yeah,
turn into
yeah,
Skynet or something, right? It's gonna start blasting
yeah,
out
yeah,
weird emails, and now you have a whole big like headache on your hands. So
yeah. I
you,
mean, I was like,
yeah, go
continue. I
ahead.
cut you off.
Oh no, no, yeah. So yeah, go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Question?
Well,
Okay.
that's exactly. And I was like, even going into the weeds of like building AI redundancies, like AI bots to check the work of other AI bots, like AI. So like have two different, everyone's checking each other's work, and then it
Yeah.
would report to me what they're about to send off, and then I would kind of approve it or
Mhm.
not. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
yeah, well, here's a scenario. Okay, so yes,
yeah,
they're checking each other, and there's one, there will eventually be a scenario that you didn't think about, right? Or AI
yeah,
uh like produce something that's totally weird, right? And it will be the most inopportune time for you, right? You'll be in the middle of something, or maybe you're on a plane, you're out of reach to everyone, and if you don't have any help, like human help, um, then who knows when it
yeah,
might be
yeah, yeah,
automating publishing online, and not, all of a sudden, by the time you landed, there's this viral hit of you of like what you just said on the internet,
yeah,
and people are just like ripping you a new one, right?
yeah. That's a good point.
So I mean, this is like some of the horror stories, right? It's like with
Yeah,
AI right
yeah.
now, it's just too new, and you can't really fully trust it yet.
Yeah, so definitely the executive assistant would be helpful, and I have most of the onboarding, most of the stuff, most of the SOPs kind of
Mhm.
built out. Um, so yeah, I'm
Good.
pretty close to that. Yeah, I think just that's it.
Yeah. So EA. All right. Yeah.
There
Sounds
it is.
good. Well, anyone have any questions before we wrap up? All right. If not, well, thank you so much for being here, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me. And
Actually, yeah.
yes.
In terms of hiring that EA, you may have covered this and I missed it, but um, is there like a recommended resource that you go to for
Yeah, so a
finding
few you could
assistance?
yeah, if you want to do it yourself, right? You could so I can give you more experience like in the Philippine side. So you want to do it yourself, you want to bring an EA on board in the Philippines, you can use like onlinejobs.ph, you can go to like different Facebook groups and do all the recruitment. But understand that if you haven't done that before, when you make a post, you're going to get over 100 applicants. Okay. And then after that, you're going to spend all this time vetting and interviewing. And if you're not familiar with that, you hire the wrong person, then you have to rinse and repeat the whole process, and it'll be 3 months later, and you still haven't found a good EA. Okay. Or you can use, work with us at DSM Talent, and we can help you do all that process, plus provide the EA benefits, which is something that you won't be able to do because you need to set up an entity in the Philippines to do that. It's essentially like hiring individuals as W-2s instead of 1099s in the Philippines, equivalents. So if you're into like if you want to hire full time and offer benefits, we can offer that. If you want to do it yourself, you can go through like online jobs at PH. I've even hired people through Upwork, and then they basically eventually became our full time hire. So that has happened before too. I never had any luck with Fiverr though, other than like really short like video like voiceovers. That's about it. Fiverr's been like not good. So that's personal take.
All right, cool. Thanks, man.
Dave, on your end, you guys like have a roster of video editors, EAs, et cetera, within your
Uh,
company
uh,
that we could like hire from your company.
So yes and no, because those roles you just named are so popular that we have a constant pool of candidates now that because we're already going through the interview process with other agency partners. But if it's some of the roles that are not as common, pretty much every role we go from the very beginning. Just start from the recruitment, build out the application, application form and have individuals apply. So it's the whole recruitment process. So you can think of us as like your HR team. We handle recruitment and management.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, great. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful weekend.